Oh, this is the wrong screen. God damn it. Yay! Scuff right off the bat. God damn it, Luke. Wait, I hadn't even started. I hadn't even gone to my main screen yet, Luke. God damn it. And I'm fine, Void. Thank you for asking. This is Bryony Rose Smith live from the Forbidden Library, everyone. Welcome to another Storytime Sunday, where I will be complimented a lot. I think I have the thing here. Where is it? Oh yeah, here you go. Now you're complimenting yourself. Get in the reverse Uno box. I'm glad you really enjoyed playing Minecraft. I really enjoyed playing Minecraft too. It was quite fun to have someone else to do it with. Obviously Void has also said that they're interested in playing Minecraft as well, so maybe you won't be the only one, but Minecraft will just become my, like, invite all the friends in streams. Psh, you're all too nice. You're You're too nice. Right after that. What are we even doing? We're reading books, that's what we're doing. So we're reading One for the Road, which somehow we managed to get through like 25% of this book last stream. Should I? I think the compliments are done. I'll let my guard down for a sec. Anyway, we managed to read a quarter of the book last time, which is crazy. I got really into it. It was very fun. Now I have to remember the voices I did. So that's going to be interesting. So, what happened in this book? Miguel, our protagonist, woke up in seemingly the desert somewhere. He didn't know where he was. We didn't know where he was. I can hear myself going, meow. I like making you push meow. You know what I mean? Like Renna. It's cute. No more scary. Like that. Lost my train of thought then. Oh, it's not hard to throw off my train of thought today. I have a scattered brain today. I left it somewhere. I don't know where it is. I'm sure I'll find it eventually. I'm sure it won't affect my reading at all. It'll be fine. But anyway, Miguel was in the desert. He doesn't know how he got there. He doesn't know where he was, and he saw this really ramshackle shack, so he went towards it. He got in, and it was a ramshackled bar. It was all dusty and dirty and a bit broken down. He managed just to take a seat at the bar and kind of just die a little bit and go, I have no idea what's going on. Why am I here? And then the barkeep appears out of nowhere. And lost brain, don't know where it went. Yeah, brain cells are struggling. But it's fine. Everything's fine. I don't need brain cells to read. Maybe one, and I think I got one, so we're fine. Oh yeah, speaking of being way too nice, the Smooth Talk short got only 30 views and disappointing message. Ah, that's okay. The shorts are weird. They're really hit and miss. You just don't know what's going to do good and what isn't. The only thing I can seem to guarantee that's going to do good is the yawning. Is my cute yawns. those I posted 2 of those, and they've both done like near 2K each, pretty much, which is crazy. So yeah, hot tip for any for influencers: just yawn cutely, and then you'll get views. I have 2 Adorbs yawns shorts, and they both did very good. Yes, the bartender appeared out of nowhere and gave him a drink. And every time he touched the drink, he got some memories back, and also the bar suddenly got a bit nicer, and the bar behind us suddenly got a bit nicer. And then another guy walked in. He was a musician who was going to be playing for the night, and suddenly there was a stage. And it just seemed like whenever someone turned up, everything they needed started to appear, and the bars just started getting better and better and better, and growing, even getting bigger as he sat there. It was crazy. Eventually a lady turns up called Madame Moretos, and she explains that this bar... I'm going to post a video everywhere where I yawn loudly. Exactly. Apparently that's the way to the internet's hearts. Just yawn loudly. With a cute anime girl avatar, though, I think that's the clincher here. If you have a big yawn and then a little bounce, and yeah, I think that's the way to the internet's heart. Anyway. She explains that this is like a place you go to just after you've died. And you meet your family and stuff there, and you have one night of partying before you move on to wherever you go to. They don't know where they go, but that's what happens here. They have one night of partying and then go off to the afterlife, wherever that may be for people. But Miguel's a bit of an odd soul, literally soul, in that he arrived early. No one's ever arrived early. No one's ever arrived before the bar has been set up. No one's even seen what this place looks like before it adapts to whoever is in it. So, what's so special about Miguel? And can he cross over before the night is over? Because if he doesn't, he may become one of the lost and never have a happy ending. I don't have an anime voice. Do I have an anime voice? I thought this was gonna be an anime voice, where it kind of go a little American too, because you know all the anime characters are American. Even Saber, who's supposed to be freaking King Arthur, and she's British, but for some reason in all the anime she's voiced as an American, and it pisses me the heck off. Maybe that's how I should do my American voices. Just pretend I'm an anime character, because that was a better American accent than I have ever done while trying to do the Wilders. Note to self: be an anime character if I want to be American. Anyway, let's read chapter 4, the opening act. Passive aggressive. Oh my god, it's just so annoying. No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I'll get really insulting if we do that. It's probably best not. It's probably not. It's not a line I want to cross. It's not a side of myself I want to show. My wholesome image will be ruined. It's not. It's not. Oh my god. Stop. No, stop. Stop. We gotta focus. Focus. Miguel had been at restaurants and bars when they opened before. There was always an awkward greeting from staff, questions about if they were open or not, and finding a seat while they finished preparations. You actually love this ass because you find it funny. Oh, don't get me started on bloody anime accents. They're always bloody American, even though, like, the anime would not be based off American. It is just for the American, because I don't know why they don't give the actors room to, you know, do an accent. They're probably pretty good. No. We're here to read a book, not for me to rant about my anime opinions. Let's go. Maybe I should do a rant stream. That can be part of it. Just an angry rant stream. I could rant for 2 hours. I really could. If I make a list of subjects to rant about, I could do that. A brief time later, other people would arrive, and you were just another face in the crowd. Madame Moretos' home had no build-up, no slow trickle of customers. Instead, they arrive en masse and flood through the front door. The entrance had split into a series of ornate double doors, each containing its own distinct Dias de Muertos motif in shades of orange, green, and purple. The opening moments were a blur of motion. "Showtime, everyone!" Muertos shouted, before placing herself between the open door and the bar, alone against the surging crowds. Yee, a rant stream will be fun. It'll be called What Makes Me Angry? The stream series. I mean, I think I've watched Mume's rant streams. They're funny. I could probably do something similar. Okay. She's not blocking the crowd, she's greeting them. Raquel's hand shot out, not to pour already drinks, but to switch off the bar's backlighting. The bar's lighting went black, with the remaining overhead lights clicking off in rapid succession. Before the stage lights went out, Juan Pedro rose from his stool to stand before his microphone. With a final nod, he and the stage fell into darkness. All of this happened over the span of seconds. The only light sources remaining were the decorative tabletop candles which only illuminated the table centers, leaving the room in darkness. Miguel gulped, savoring the last remnants of his drink. It helped his nerves, but did not remove the tension in his stomach. There was a change in the charge. There was a charge in the air, an energy building up and readying itself to erupt. A whoosh of air hitting fire filled the air, and Moretos's dress flared. She became a fiery beacon in an inky black sea. Thick plumes of smoke rushed away from her, blotting out the faint light from the candles and making them little more than embers. I once walked into a bar. The bar said, ow. I like it. But why was the bar alive? I won't question it. Miguel heard screams of concern and shrieks of panic from the newcomers. How must this look to them? In a strange place that suddenly goes dark, and then a woman bursts into flames and smoke. I don't even know who she is. I barely know. He pursed his lips, wanting to call out to them, to tell them that it would be okay. As the words rise in his throat, his jumbled memories cleared for a moment. In the fog of thoughts, a memory came to mind. When he had just started his job, his first client, he met with a youthful woman reviewing paperwork as they spoke. He said something, and the woman rose in tears and ran from the room. The door slammed behind her and jarred Miguel back into the moment. What was it I said? I thought I was helping, but if I said nothing, she might not have left. She would not. The smoke swirled and spun around the room. Miguel found it odd that he could make out the smoke against the shadows. Is that because of the drink? As the smoke pulled away from the tables, the candlelight went out, and the colours remained as glowing embers in the smoke wisps of the candlelight, floating upwards and changing the smoke into bright, vibrant colours. Radiant energy crackled along the smoke tendrils before merging back into the surrounding darkness. The panicked screams faded, replaced by the sounds of curiosity and bewilderment. Hey, Bryony, if I write a Wonderlab parody trailer, would you rate it? I haven't actually touched Wonderlab, but I think Elfanglia is funny because, you know, Super Mario Wonder. I don't understand. No processing. I don't understand. Processing failed. Please try joke again. Please make joke unfunny. Elfangla. Elefangla. Elephant? Mario turns into an elephant. Oh yeah, he does, doesn't he? I forgot about that. I forgot about that trailer. I am smart. Thank you. Thank you for explaining your jokes that I don't get. I thought of it where Angela turns into an elephant. That would be a scary elephant, not gonna lie. She's always scary. Yeah. With a distinct pop, a single spotlight came on, shining down on Madame Bretos. All eyes were upon her as she stood alone in the only light. Her red dress had been burned black, smoke wafting around her. She stood in silence before them, head bowed and eyes closed. I believe the joke the Void the Waller was trying to make was in reference to the new Mario game trailer, where Mario turned into an elephant at the end, and then something to do with Angela from Ruiner and Elefangela. And yeah. That's the best explanation I can give you. A ring of smoke swirled over her head, drifting down in an ever-thickening ring. As it touched her head, it shifted, changing from thick, sooty smoke to a black sombrero. Cordobas con pom-pom. A black, large, brimmed hat with tiny cotton balls hanging from strings. The cotton balls, or pom-poms, traditionally red, were ebony black. Her face was striking. The returning smoke had painted the image of an ashen white skull. Large black patches covered her eyes, and slight lines etched a toothy design of a grin over her lips. The smoke that had touched the candles settled on her and in patterns of colour. Small blood-red hearts dotted each cheek, with ornate black accent lines swirling around, outlining the edge of her eyes. She wore the guise of a La Catarina, a goddess of death. Bum bum! Miguel's mouth hung open, awed by her morbid beauty. Her appearance and demeanour were no longer warm and welcoming, instead taking on a predatory malice and hunger. Her eyes opened, earning gasps of surprise from several of the gathered souls. The green sparks that had flickered across her eyes earlier ignited. Steel-grey irises seared away, replaced by a deep emerald colour. The last sparks leaped from her eyes and ignited the pom-poms on her hat. As one pom-pom lit, the flame hopped to the next, igniting and moving on. When the last one crackled with fire, the flame leapt to her hat's band. A ring of green flame erupted to life. The light's intensity grew, ever brighter, emerald flame shifting to orange fire, and then to a deep, sultry red, the same red as her dress when they first met. Miguel swallowed hard, trying to move away, but on some level, he knew he could do nothing to escape this moment. Silence hung in the room as Muertos raised her head and extended her arms like a magnificent bird descending upon its prey. She gazed at the crowd in consideration, as if trying to select a target from among them. Although she stood on the same floor as the crowd, her presence felt elevated, adding to her predatory aura. His blood ran cold. Muertos smiled, a pleasant and welcoming grin, and with it came a measure of relief. "Welcome, everyone," the hostess shouted in her warm tone, calling out to them like a roaring fire on a frigid winter's night. "Welcome to Madame Muertos. Come in, come in. There is food aplenty, every dish you could desire. There is drink, the finest ever poured, and there is music." Juan Pedro took his cue. We on the cheerleading team now? I mean, what is the chat but a cheerleading team? You're on the cheerleading team every time you watch a stream. His blood ran cold. Does that mean he's a reptile now? I guess so. But then he would have done a lot better in the desert. I got some Pepsi today. We got a Trito. Juan Pedro took his cue, and the band roared to life, filling the gigantic room with the exciting and inviting sounds of celebration. The lights flicked back on, banishing the shadows, and the crowds applauded before turning to their conversations and activities. As time resumed its normal pace, Miguel took in the room, not surprised that it had altered its appearance. To the newcomers, this alteration would happen without their knowledge, but Miguel appeared to be the only one to notice every change. Okay, have a nice look and have a nice nap, Luke. Night-night. Pepsi products are everywhere. They really are. They're doing their best. I went to meet a friend recently, and they were giving away Pepsi for free. So we had a couple of free cans of Pepsi Max that day. It was great. Hashtag not an ad. Hashtag I got free shit. As time resumed, no, I read that bit. The layout no longer mimicked his wedding reception, and had grown to become an exquisite ballroom befitting a death night festival. Everything about the room gave off an aura of excitement and energy, the bar itself pulsing with life. Centerpieces contained colorful flower combinations, and Miguel overheard patrons making comments about the chosen flowers. For each group, the floral ensemble brought back a happy shared memory, sparking conversation that ignited their night. Free Pepsi? Pepsi not sussy. Get your not sus free Pepsi. It wasn't sus. They were like at the train station just handing out free Pepsi. It also happened to be that city's Pride event that day, so I think they were trying to take advantage of the extra traffic that day. Trying to get their foot in and try to prove that they're better than Coke, and they will never be. They will never be better than Coke. They only had Pepsi because there wasn't Coke available. Madame Muertos turned from the front door, her face beaming with satisfaction, the pride at her performance. "Oh, how I love to be the opening act," she purred. "I should do it more often, yes?" She beamed at Miguel, who had turned a few shades paler. My favorite is Coke and Dr. Pepper. Yeah, I don't like Dr. Pepper. I'm not a fan of the cherry Coke flavor that Dr. Pepper has, so... Do I like I don't mind an off-brand every so often. I don't mind like the supermarket's own Coke sometimes. It's not terrible. Obviously, they usually taste a little watered down sometimes, but it's not the worst. I'd rather that than it being like too sugary. That tends to be when it puts me off. That's why I don't like Pepsi as much. It always feels a bit more sugary than anything else. What is the matter, Miguel? Too much for you? I thought you would have liked the show. I really thought you would eat my soul. The words came out before he could stop himself, but he felt compelled to answer. Muertos gave a dismissive chuckle with a hint of a hungry growl. The night is young, with so many potential outcomes. Miguel swallowed. What? She giggled and waved a hand that was now adorned with a long black glove. I kid, Miguel. It was all part of the grand show. The Muertos welcome. She regarded the growing festivities with a smile. I have found a little fear helps to focus attention before a warmer welcome and music. Eat his soul. I mean, she could be a succubus or something. She's definitely not human. She's some kind of guide to the afterlife, so succubus maybe. Her laugh echoed in his mind, still reminding him of someone, but the memory wouldn't focus. Instead, he wondered, why do I know death? That is a good question. Chapter 5, Mingling with the Crowd. People continued to enter the building people continued to enter, and the building continued to expand. It's growing, but not changing anymore. Glad to have the room no longer surprising him, Miguel became uneasy with the stability. If the bar's form had stabilized, it must have meant the night was in full swing, and he needed to get started on figuring out how to move on. There was so much to take in now that the festival was underway. The sounds of hundreds of conversations grew to fill the space. None of them were sad or confused. Instead, the voices carried the same level of excitement as when best friends were reunited or beloved relatives maybe surprise visits. Or when beloved relatives made surprise visits. Miguel smiled. He could listen to their cheerful stories and exciting calls all night. It would be so easy to stand there and bask in their happiness. Lucky people like this. It's what I always wanted for my clients. The overhead lights, which had flared at the end of Madame Huertas's introduction, had dimmed to fit the mood of a nighttime party. People were already dancing. That's something that I wouldn't be caught dead doing. Well, you are dead. Do it. I was hopeless at my wedding. I'm sure dying hasn't made me any better. A loud splash caught his attention, and he turned towards the full-length windows, revealing outdoor patios and various tiers containing pools of every shape and size. Oh, heck yeah! People were already splashing and playing in the water. So many cheerful people, and so many conversations made his head swim, but his eyes blur. There was so much to see, hear, and do. I could stay here for a while and make a plan, enjoy the moment. Focus. A cool voice spoke into his mind. It was slow. It was a slow, even voice, like a speaker had just finished yawning. Miguel searched for the source. Whoever or whatever had spoken into his head must still be somewhere nearby. None of the gathering crowds were looking in his direction. No one seemed to acknowledge he was there. You must focus, or you'll remain a blissful fool. Another voice snapped into his mind. Agitated, Miguel looked around. He had just turned when the room spun. His vision blurred and the sounds of conversation became deafening. Each word, each exclamation boomed in his ears. It was all too much. The emotions of the surrounding groups poured over him, and his eyes watered from the strain of processing so much all at once. Panic attack! Who? What? Where am I? He staggered, falling forward on one foot. Focus, Mr. Miguel. Please. You have got to, or you'll flicker out. Please, you... A third voice, this one nervous and fast-paced, chirped into his mind. It continued speaking, but he could not hear it anymore. Miguel was losing himself to an overload of emotions and sensations. With each passing moment, more people entered, and another wave of powerful emotions washed over him. The festival grew, and it was crushing Miguel under its weight. Focus! He heard all three voices implore him at once, and he fought to follow their instructions. Find something to stabilize yourself, he told himself. You're always telling people to visualize a goal, now do it. His knees buckled. Do you think a Pepsi Man horror movie could work? Definitely! Definitely. 100%. He's a faceless monster. I mean, stick him in a suit and elongate his arms, and what's the difference between him and Slender Man, really? People were moving everywhere. Nothing was still enough for him to fixate on. Changing track, he shifted his gaze towards the front door until he found an open area. While people were still entering, no one was standing at the entrance. There were moments where space appeared beside the entrance, so Miguel would focus his attention there. For a moment, all was still. Miguel let out a ragged breath that ended in a harsh cough. Someone stepped into the empty area, and Miguel readied himself for a barrage of sensation to return. The newcomer was a barrel-chested man who stopped to scoop up a frail older woman in a bear hug. "Mama!" the man chortled. "I haven't seen you in ages! How have you been?" She grunted once under the weight of his hug, before flexing her arms to free herself. She dropped a full foot before hugging him back with matching intensity. This time the man grimaced. "Oh, you know," she growled. "I can't complain, Ricardo." Despite his larger size, Ricardo's feet slid from the force of the hug. She held him tight in that vice-like grapple until, apparently satisfied that she'd held him long enough, she released him, tears in her eyes. "Ricardo, what have you been eating? Why, I can almost get my arms around you." "Mama." He sniffed and held back his own tears, a playful tone in his voice. She grabbed his hand. "Come on, everyone's waiting at the table. We'll have all your favorites. Don't let it get cold." Ricardo laughed and they disappeared into the crowd. No, actually, it's not. It's the opposite of a fat joke. The problem is that he hasn't been eating enough, and the old woman can nearly get her arms all the way around him. He's not fat enough. That's the problem. "Her boy's not been eating enough. He's not looking after himself. How dare he? Well, he's dead now, so it's fine." Ricardo laughed and they disappeared into the crowd. Miguel blinked. He had kept his attention on the mother and son, and now things were slowing back down. He rose again on shaking legs. The crowd was still there, the radiance of the guests' emotions surging around him, but by focusing, he was no longer pulled into the whirlwind of festivities. "Well, if you whippersnappers don't behave, then you'll get the cane. Back in my day, that's how they teach the kids. They would with physical violence." Focus, like the voices said. One thing at a time. Nice and slow. Nodding to himself in reassurance, he glanced out at the crowd without resting his gaze on any one person or group. If something jumped out at him, he would lock onto it for a moment or two before forcing himself to look away. Miguel continued this practice until his heart no longer raced and his head stopped aching. Find something familiar. Ground yourself, Miguel, he advised himself, and turned towards Raquel's bar. While he didn't know the bartender very well, he at least recognized her, and he needed the comfort of that particular familiarity. A row of soldiers dressed in a variety of uniforms and ranks held glasses at the ready, all eyes on a young woman as she made a comment and started raising her glass. Miguel noticed a distinct familiar resemblance among them. The young woman finished her comment, and the others roared in approval. Best not to listen in. I might hear too much and end up on the floor again. Behind the bar, Raquel added something to the conversation. She made a grand gesture with her arms and raised her own drink. They all laughed, and the young woman's face turned a bright scarlet, and the lineage of soldiers clinked their glasses and consumed their drinks. The men in older uniforms slammed their shot glasses down on the counter, exclaimed their approval, and patted the newest member on the back in congratulations. Then, called away by some unseen figure, they collected their hats from the counter, tucked them under their arms, and stepped away. Miguel noticed that a bottle had appeared in each person's hands, where there had been none present a moment earlier. Together they walked around a corner and disappeared from Miguel's sight. Fixating on Raquel, he wondered if what he had seen was true. Did Raquel smile? Or am I just dizzy? He risked another glance at her and found, to his dismay, she was glaring at him. "Hey," she said in a calm and plain tone. Despite the crowd, Miguel heard her as if they were the only ones in the room. Unlike the voices in his head from earlier, Raquel's voice nullified all other sound. It was unnerving, but at least it differed from the other intrusions to his thoughts. "Good to know there are alternatives to voices in my head," he sighed. "Dead and crazy. Such a winning combination." "You tell anyone," Raquel trailed off, leaving the threat unsaid. But she held Miguel's attention until he nodded his understanding. "I am an interdimensional being, but if you tell anyone I'm soft, I will kill you." When she looked away, Miguel started forward, eager to leave under his own power before she threw him somewhere. She stopped and turned in another direction, then spun again in a confused series of motions, as he found he could not commit to any one direction. Where should I go? Where do I want to go? To his right was the front door, now a pair of glass doors with golden trim. Velvet ropes and vibrant leafy plants highlighted the path to the foyer. People entered and made their way to their personal celebrations with an unerring ease of confidence. On the left was Raquel's bar. He did his best not to look in that direction. "If you too early might tell anyone, me eating nachos obnoxiously ills." But he could tell that it had changed too, growing and becoming a marble countertop with trim to match the front door. Designs in the marble matched the skull motif adorning both Muertos and Raquel's faces. The bulk of the room comprised tables filled with patrons, a sea of celebrating parties. At first he had only seen random families and groups scattered around the room. There had been no rhyme or reason to any of it, but as he took his moment to study the swaying scene, he noticed an organization to the tables. He noticed that the tables were organized by meal selection. It reminded him of being in a market, with each style and type of food in its own aisle. Every row radiated from a center point on the wall perpendicular to where Miguel stood, and at the center of that wall was a set of doors he assumed led into the kitchen. Having no skill in cooking, managing a sandwich on his best days, Miguel stayed as far away from there as possible. Creating a kitchen fire here might end up sending him to the afterlife's hotter side. Before he could continue taking in his surroundings, something stopped him. An eerie sensation of someone watching him. He searched the room, but no one was looking at him. Everyone focused on their own celebrations. Still, he could not shake the sensation that there were eyes on him, that someone or something was focusing on him. Scanning the crowd, he spotted a silver blue sheen a few times, but it faded away before he could focus on it. The glow's size and shape varied, and it hid behind the crowds or ducked into the shadows with a nimble quickness. His stomach lurched, his pulse quickened, and a desire to run crept into his mind. Stay calm. Stay focused, he told himself. Nothing can hurt you, right? You're already dead. Taking a drawn-out breath, he blinked repeatedly to focus his vision. He scanned the floor again, no longer able to locate any silver blue auras. They're nothing but spots to my eyes. I probably just stared into the spotlights too long. Or could it be after effects of my dizzy spell? Across from the door, easily seen from each table, thanks to the place thanks to this place was the stage. Juan Pedro and his band performed loudly and with passion. They moved between sets and styles with the same ease as though they were breathing. A patron found her way to the stage, and the band took it in stride, laughing and allowing the amateur performer her moment in the spotlight. An instrument for the guests to play was always just off stage, just out of sight, and all the band members had to do was reach back for it. 2 sets of doors were to the right of the stage. The first led to the pool, which Miguel found strange, as the stage now resided both inside and outside, allowing people in any location to enjoy the music. The latter doors were large and plush, with the words Rec Rooms written in neon overhead. Neon letters read VLA flickered above. With no swimsuit, no group to sit with, and having no desire to dance, he decided it would be best to check out the back area. Making a peanut butter sandwich doesn't count as cooking. It doesn't, technically, but it is making food, and the process of making food is cooking, theoretically, or is it just assembly? No sooner had he started forward than he stopped again. A group stepped into his path. Bracing himself for impact, Miguel winced, but the blow never came. Instead, there was a tingle as the closest person passed through the space where he was standing. He's a ghost in the ghost world! Or rather, stepped through Miguel without slowing. He was uninjured, not even jostled by the dancers. It was as though he had not been there, or had not even existed. His body tingled with pins and needles, where he would have touched the other patrons. I really am a ghost. No, you're just not needed with their Death Night Festival. Brian hitting the saxophone. There you go. God, I wish I could play the saxophone. My boyfriend loves the saxophone. He would be very happy if I could certainly play the saxophone. Unfortunately, I'm not that musically inclined. Madame Muertos replied, appearing behind him. Miguel jumped, but not as much as he had the first time. The wicked smirk on her face just showed how much she enjoyed his reactions. All things considered, her abrupt appearances made sense. Death snuck up on you. He touched his hands together, if for no other reason than the comfort of being assured that he was solid. Standing next to her, he felt compelled to speak, holding her attention. Plus, he had always hated awkwardness. His hostess explained, "Everyone has what they need to celebrate. My home provides what they desire." Are you saying people can create anything here? Could I just create a reason to move on? It's what I need. She gave a nasal laugh, shook her head. No, nothing like that. My home can provide food, drink, games, things, but not purposes or memories. It can put you in your best state, as required for the Death Night Festival. Think of it as a costume party, where everyone comes in their best, young or old, at their best or worst. It is up to them how people appear. A grandmother might be an old woman when meeting a grandchild, but a young señorita when she meets her love again. Aw, that's cute. This is unlike any Dia de Muertos festival I have ever been to. There's so much here. I mean, it's people from everywhere on Earth. And it has to be things, not people. Unless it's cats. I imagine cats are okay. Like pets, not just cats specifically, I mean. Probably pets here. I mean, if you're going to be reunited with anyone when you die, it's got to be your pets, right? Yes, well, that's because you're not attending a Dia de Muertos festival. This is the Death Night festival, remember? How did you know I was what I was thinking? Because you are Void Dweller. And you dwell in the VTuber void. She stared out of the crowds, a longing ache burning in her green eyes. Here things are more complicated, more encompassing. Times change, even here. There was a finality in her statements, pain under a mask of professionalism. Unlike what my family may think, she spat, my home adapts with the times. Sometimes that means making the hard choices, leaving past traditions behind. And no matter what happens, people will still die. Someone has to be here for the departed. Tonight they meet with their past honor and savor it one last time. There was an unsettling hint to her words, something predatory and eager to feed, a glint of silver blue shining beneath her fiery green eyes. It reminded him of her opening act, when he imagined she would descend upon the crowd and tried to change the subject. He could have warned me, he blurted, that I would pass through people. You would have figured it out soon enough, I'm sure. Besides, I try to minimize how much impact my guests. How much I impact my guests. I'm merely a host, not their master. But wasn't it you who helped me focus earlier? I had a voice in my head. Well, voices. It wasn't you and Raquel. Wasn't that you and Raquel? Muertos took a moment to examine him before casting a glance over her shoulder at the bartender. Raquel shrugged, shaking her head. That was not us either. She regarded him, an impish smile playing across the corners of her mouth. Tell me, do you often hear voices, Miguel? No! He shook his head to dismiss the idea. It was like someone telling me to focus on the moment or I would lose myself. Muertos bobbed her head, acknowledging his words. Excellent advice. If you're hearing voices, at least they are not leading you astray. Miguel nodded, but said nothing. Muertos gave him a measured smile. Well, it has been enjoyable talking with you, and the night is young. I believe you're in the middle of something, unless you want to stay with me all night. I'm trying to... There we go. Her eyes shone with the same hunger as he had seen in the night's beginning, as though she were a predator sizing up potential prey. I had a funny thought. What if a ghost played your Xbox at night when everyone's slept? You just wake up and for some reason your game's completed. And you wake up the next night and you've got the platinum trophy on something that you haven't even started yet. You wake up the next night and you're somehow the champion in Street Fighter and you don't know how this happened. That is a great short story idea, actually. 1 minute, I'm gonna write that down. Haunted Xbox, haunted Xbox, haunted Xbox. Where did I put that list of short story ideas? Shots. Ideas, there it is. There's my short story idea list. Wonderful. I'm adding that. Haunted. Xbox. Done. It is done. It is added. Wonderful. Can make it about myself. I could make it about myself, but it'd be more fun to write about, you know, someone else. I don't own an Xbox, but it could be a haunted PS5 either way. But hey ho. I would write it about a made-up character most likely. It's more fun. Less personal, more fun. Unlike the last encounter, his legs found their strength, and this time he started backing away. There was an unsettling aura about her, and Miguel felt a strong need to flee. Ah, yeah, hello. Miguel pointed away from her, walking in that direction. I'll just be off. Perhaps I will see you around. Tilting her head to one side, the hostess said nothing. Coughing into her hands, Miguel stammered, incapable of remaining silent. I mean, yes, I will see you. This is your home. I'll find somewhere to make myself busy and let you get back to work. Miguel stopped, falling backwards. His foot had struck something, and now he toppled over. His arms flailed, seeking any purchase, but finding none. He landed with a thump. Not the thud he expected. Whatever he'd fallen into was semi-solid and made plopping sounds. All around him were gasps and spurts of surprised laughter. Whoa! A deep masculine voice boomed. A few weak laughs and surprised gasps followed. Figures rose around him, reaching out to help him to his feet. Two men stood up, their expressions a mix of concern and barely represented amusement. Barely repressed amusement, even. His back felt wet and sticky, and Miguel hoped it was only food. We asked for a cake topper, but this is a little extreme, the voice teased as rough hands knocked chunks of frosting and cake from his clothes. Oh no, he fell into a cake! Miguel turned to the speaker, craning his neck to meet the man's eyes. This had to be the biggest man Miguel had ever seen. He had the physique of a professional bodybuilder, and he wore a silverette business suit that fit his massive frame. If you wanted some cake, my friend, you only had to ask. The enormous man's eyes twinkled with mirth. At least 6'5", right? I have no idea. We don't know how tall Miguel is. We just know this man is incredibly, incredibly tall. Oh, Lordy. Another yawn for the collection. Miguel smiled, rubbing his back. He found his hand covered in frosting. Giving his finger a quick lick, he nodded. Vanilla. I'm more of a strawberry person. The table's guests laughed, a welcoming sound, although some sounded more like they were being polite rather than expressing a genuine amusement. The sizable man wiped a tear from his eye and extended a massive hand to Miguel. And I'm Hector. Miguel, he responded, accepting the firm handshake, and lifted him off his feet. Literally, probably. As he released Hector's hand, Miguel's arm continued the motion a second longer. I'm sorry to have ruined your cake. Please let me get you another. As soon as the words left his mouth, a replacement seemed to materialize at the table's center. The ruined cake and surrounding mess disappeared, bit by bit. In the blink of an eye, all evidence of the mess had disappeared. However, his frosted backside remained. Miguel reminded Miguel that the accident had occurred. No one at the table moved or reacted to the vanishing remnants of the cake, as their attention was on Hector as he spoke with Miguel. We're the center of the attention of the discussion. The only thing that matters for their festival. Miguel paused, flexing his sore hand. Wait, does that mean falling into the cake was a part of their plan? Did the knight really want me to be a cake topper? The image of himself falling onto the cake came to mind, and he blushed. But he had noticed something else as the cake disappeared. Something strange, even by tonight's standards. For a fraction of a second, Miguel swore he had seen the outline of 3 women setting down the fresh cake and removing the destroyed remnants. They moved in a flurry of violet, blue, and green. I don't know much about like the actual mythos of Day of the Dead and this kind of stuff, so I can't make too many theories as to what all this means, but I would love to know if anyone knows about that stuff. They wanted him to get caked in the face. Oh no, this book is making me want cake now. When do we not want cake? Cake is great. The only time I don't want cake is when I've just had cake. Cake is great. But it seemed they wanted an entertainer of some kind for this day. But he had noticed something else. Yeah. No harm done, Hector boomed. We always have too much cake. And besides, you saved us from singing happy birthday. None of us could carry a tune. Speak for yourself, a woman with a sharp accent snapped. Some of us are the definition of grace and blessed with an angel's tongue. Do you keep it in your purse, auntie? The man beside her quipped as he returned to his seat. He wiped his hands on his napkin without looking before setting it aside. Miguel watched it disappear, replaced by a fresh linen less than a blink later. Take a seat, Hector offered, pulling a chair up for Miguel. We're about to cut the cake, and the more the merrier. I shouldn't intrude. Cussing a lot does not give you an angel's tongue. In fact, it's more of a sailor's, to be honest. or a poopy one, really, as a potty mouth. Nonsense, a skinny older man offered a laugh. We already shared one cake together. What's another slice? Amused, Miguel sighed and took a seat, but not before laying a napkin on the chair to prevent making another mess. One slice of cake, then I can get cleaned up, he frowned. Are there bathrooms here? Would that be a part of the celebration? Actually, it would be wonderful if you could not have to go to the toilet during this time. That would be a wonderful thing, supernatural thing, to suddenly not need to go to the toilet. That would be great. Whose birthday are we celebrating? He asked the table. Everyone was dressed in fine clothing, but there was nothing unique to identify who the party was for. Hector chuckled. No one in particular. We've always got together for birthdays, but I haven't been around for a while, 'cause... Infinite Taco Bell! Is Taco Bell really that good? I have been to Taco Bell once. And the chips were good. But I can't say much for the rest. Miguel recognized a look coming over Hector's face. It mirrored how he imagined he must have looked when he tried to figure out how he arrived at Madame Huertos's home. Juan Pedro's words echoed in his mind. We find it best not to think too hard on how often these things, yes? On the how of these things, yes? It only brings sorrow and pain. Today is a cheerful occasion. You were traveling? Miguel offered, taking a sip of water to appear casual. It gave him the same euphoria as the amber liquid Raquel had provided, which helped him calm his nerves. It's memed a lot. I don't know about the customer service and weird comments I overhear about me that the employees say. Fair enough. Yeah, Hector added after considering Miguel's words. Yeah, that's it. I've been out of town for a long time. Now we can get together to celebrate everyone's birthday. The others nodded and Miguel regarded them. Were they the genuine souls of his family, or made up by the house to help Hector celebrate? Did the dead spend eternity coming back to gather those left behind? Heavy thinking to have over cake, he told himself as he accepted a slice. Happy birthday, Hector, he offered. Happy birthday, Miguel, he echoed, handing out slices of cake to the others at the table. Miguel nodded in thanks as he took a bite of the cake. Strawberry cream, he smiled. Miguel watched the others as they ate and talked. Aunt Geraldine, the woman with the angelic singing voice, and Fernando, the man that had helped Miguel off the cake, continued to banter back and forth, the others adding just enough to keep the conversation and laughter going. For his comments, Fernando received several hits to the arms from Geraldine, but he laughed them off and followed up with other comments. Oh, mine is 12th. Can you throw a cake in my face on the 12th, Bernie? Oh, the 12th of this month? Your birthday's very soon. I won't be streaming that day. But I will, I don't know, I'll try to remember to do something in the Discord and say happy birthday in there at least. I'm gonna put that in my calendar as I'll forget. This month. Nice. Calendar. August 12th. Void's birthday. Yeah, now I'll remember to... I just have such a stiff brain. If I don't write this shit down, I just don't... It will go. It will go. I don't remember some of the birthdays of people close to me. It's really terrible. I have to write it down. Oh, gosh. Miguel wished his own family were here, but found he could not remember the last time they'd all gathered. Usually it was only Dad and me. There never seemed to be enough time. No, on my Google Calendar. That's why I'm writing it down. A pang of sadness tugged at his heart as he wondered how many things could have been different. Maybe if Mum was there. While he had seen pictures of his mother, Miguel had only one mental image of her. It was a fraction of a memory, and he was never sure if he had made it up or if it had happened. That he remembered it with such clarity always made it seem real. They were still in the hospital. He couldn't have been more than an hour born. Exhausted, his mother lay back in her bed, her hair a wild mess, breathing in weak, tiny gasps. Despite it all, a smile across her exhausted face. Her arms were reaching out to him, to take him from his father, to hold him for even a moment. When he passed into her arms, a line of heat washed through his body, like he was being wrapped in another blanket. She whispered something to him, but as a baby he did not understand what it was. Did not understand what it was, and the words did not register. He was told that she had died from complications soon after. Miguel had that one memory, that one moment with his mother, but he held that memory, real or not, in his mind. He took a large bite of cake, letting the sugary sweetness distract him from the direction his thoughts were taking him. Once I'm finished here, I could ask Mother if that happened. If I can move on. Well, this was lovely, but I think it's time we go back to my place, Fernando offered, Cheers of agreement came from the others. Forks clinked under plates, and the family rose from the table. Hector clapped Miguel on the shoulder, jarring him for his thoughts. Thanks for joining us, my friend. It was good that you stopped by. The party needed something to get us all talking. We were hopeless at small talk. What? Miguel mumbled through a mouthful of cake. Going already? The night's still young. Why not stay for a drink or... Sorry, Miguel. We just stopped for cake. Now we're going back to Fernando's. I hope we'll see you around, yeah? Hector extended one of his enormous hands, and Miguel took it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Yeah, he replied, wishing he had something important to say. He stumbled into their lives, or into their afterlives, and now they were leaving. Hector released his hand, smiled his broad, toothy smile, and rejoined his family, who were already near the front door. With each step, Hector's group faded a little more, until they vanished. A thought came to Miguel, and he shot to his feet, racing after Hector. Perhaps I can follow. I celebrated, so now I should be able to move on. Hector was the last in the crowd, walking with lumbering steps towards the exit. Miguel closed the distance between them in a few seconds and reached out for Hector's hand. Miguel passed through the larger man, as the crowd passed through him earlier. Hector turned ever so slightly while talking to his family, but he continued to fade away, leaving Miguel alone in the foyer. He trudged back to his chair, considering the cake before shoving it away. He no longer had a taste for sweets. His mouth had gone sour. Why didn't that work? He celebrated, right? Shouldn't that be enough? Frustrated, he rose. Words, come on, you can do this. Frustrated, he rose, his back making a peeling sound as his clothes pulled from the chair. Oh yeah, I'm covered in cake too. Oh, you poor dear. Muertos' voice called out as she appeared beside him. Come on, let's get you cleaned up. She led him away from the tables as one would a child who had muddied his Sunday best. I don't understand what happened. Why couldn't I move on? I told you, you were not part of their celebration. For one wonderful moment, you joined in their fun, but it could not last forever. A party is like life. It only lasts so long. Miguel looked around, careful not to let his gaze rest on any events for too long. There were gatherings starting and ending all around them. Some were a quick cup of coffee before moving on. In other groups, one person stood at the center of a circle of people telling stories with updates on his life and adventures. No one's coming to help me. Out of the corner of his eye, the silver-blue images returned, flittering in and out of focus. They were not moving any closer, just circling and waiting. What are they waiting for? He looked at Muertos, who gave no sign of noticing the glowing things. What are those things? Does she not see them? What do they want with me? Mysteries! Mysteries and hydration! Woo! Wah! Oh, I feel so bad for the protagonist in this one. It feels like he's so stuck. Pepsi dehydrates. Well, that's why I have water as well. We have some water too. So I'm not just drinking Pepsi. We're good. We're good. I am smart. I have figured out the ways. Okay. No, I genuinely feel sorry for our protagonist here. He's got some It's such a mystery he's been, like, shoved onto, and you just don't know who can help him or how to be helped. Let's do at least one more chapter. At least one more chapter. We'll see. Running afoul of Raquel. Oh, no. Oh, no, 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 no. This ain't gonna be good. Okay. Muertos and Miguel arrived at Raquel's counter, receiving the usual kind and welcoming grace that only the bartender could muster. Yeah, well, he might not be. They said they had near-death experience people here sometimes, so he might not be dead. He might be in a coma. And maybe that's why no one's come to collect him, because it's not his time. That's a potential. What happened to him? Raquel snarled. Don't tell me we have pools filled with cake now. Raquel's appearance had changed. She now wore a simple black corset which seemed natural on her, almost as if her earlier attire had hindered her movements. Following Muertos' style, she had painted her face in the La Catrina style, but without the ornate lines or decorative flares. All that broke the monotony of her black and white face paint were 3 red lines on each cheek that angled upwards to her ears, and a stylized set of open wings. Cake pools would be available if a guest requested it, Muertos snapped back. No, Miguel here, she dragged him between her and Raquel, fell on someone's table and onto their cake. The bartender paused, raising a skeptical eyebrow. On someone else's table, she repeated. How does that happen? It appears he tripped, Muertos replied, accenting the last word. Did you trip him? Did you trip him, Muertos? Nice reading. I'll have this in the background while I rest and maybe nap. Well, I hope you have a wonderful nap, Rhythm Pecker. I want to have a quick look at your avatar. Yes, it is a Pekora, so that Peko is a Peko. Good, I was just checking. I can't see it. It's very small in the chat, so I had to check Peko. But I hope you have a nice nap, Peko. For now, I need you to get him cleaned up. What am I, his maid? Really, I'm fine. I just need to wash up. If it's about the cake, about ruining the cake. No! Muertos interrupted. No, everything is fine. Miguel, it's just an old problem between friends. Nothing that cannot be resolved quickly enough. Right, Raquel? Raquel met Muertos' eyes, exhaling her frustration before turning away. Sure, she growled, tossing her cleaning rag to the counter. She turned her glare to Miguel. We're all here to help, right? Good, Muertos replied through clenched teeth. I can always count on you for your generous spirit and to handle house matters. See you do things while I continue my hosting duties. I would hate for you to deal with another staffing issue. Without another word, she turned, and with a few steps, she vanished among the crowd. Hosting duties, Raquel chuckled, in a bit of dark humor. Walking around like a big margarita. Leave me to clean up and do all the work. Miguel looked back to the crowds, in part to give Raquel a moment to grumble to herself, but more to find Muertos in the crowd or identify those blue-silver things from earlier. When the rumbling of Raquel's words had subsided, he returned his attention to her, while putting on his friendliest "please don't hit me" smile. What does that look like? Please don't hit me. Do you know where I can get cleaned up? Maybe get a fresh set of clothes and a place to change? No changing rooms there, and no change of clothes, she snapped before picking up her towel again to clean a glass in her hand. You can have anything you need for your night. You know that much, right? So just be clean. Just be clean, he repeated. Yeah, she added, irritated. Raquel said nothing else for several minutes, focusing instead on cleaning her glass. After a few wipes, she glanced up, seeing Miguel still staring at her. She made a deflating sound, shaking her head. Mortals. Straightening up to her full height, which somehow made her seem more intense, she glowered. Think of clothes like food. Clothes like food? He echoed, a little sarcasm and more than a little annoyance creeping into his voice. I don't have enough food on my clothes. This is all in your head, everything here. She pointed with her glass at their surroundings. Everything you see is what you want to see. If you think you are drinking alcohol or falling in a pool of cake, you're doing it here. So if you think you're clean, you'll be clean. Muertos told you about the if it's needed for a celebration aspect of this place, right? So just think the mess away, he asked, closing his eyes and trying to imagine what he looked like before falling on the table, visualizing his clothes with the image in mind. He wheeled away the messy clothing. Huh, Raquel chuckled with a wry humor. Well, you are clean. Miguel gasped as he looked over himself. There he stood, in the middle of a crowded bar filled with more people than he had ever seen. Naked! Oh no! Oh no, 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 no. His brain could not prioritize being terrified, mortified, or embarrassed, so it split the difference and did all three at once. With a gasp, he tried to hide his shame. However, no matter how much he twisted and covered himself, it only made him stick out all the more. Plus, he could have sworn he heard someone whistle at some point. Everyone's had those nightmares. Or at least media would make you believe that everyone's had those nightmares. I have not. Could this get any worse? Oh, calm down, Raquel sighed. With a flourish, her arm shot out. She snapped her fingers and in his direction. Clothes as clean and pressed as when he'd first brought them appeared on his body. You were naked, not on fire. That is oddly specific, he commented, examining himself to be sure the clothes covered everything. I've seen it happen. People let their imaginations run too wild. Well, I appreciate your help. Speaking of appreciating, Raquel placed 2 fingers in her mouth and produced an ear-piercing whistle, the force pushing Miguel back and making his ears ring. Can you be dead to have tinnitus? And have tinnitus? At first, nothing seemed to happen. Besides Miguel, there had been no motion or disruption of the crowd to show that anyone had heard the call. The pressure in the air dropped, creating a vacuum in the air. A trio of women appeared between Miguel and Raquel's counter, filling that sudden emptiness. Faces painted akin to Raquel's and Madame Huertos's. They wore white tops with colourful skirts of green, violet, and purple. Colours sparkled, recognition in his mind. The woman from the table. They were real! What? The 3 voices chimed, not quite in harmony. How do you whistle? By sticking fingers in your mouth? You know, like when they do it with the thumb and the forefinger, and I can't do it, but you know, and yeah, I can't do it. I can't do it. But you can do it. It is a thing. I've seen it on the television. I think my dad can do it. I've seen Dad do it. I can't. Not to save my life. But it gives you a really strong whistle with your thumb and your forefinger, and then you like curl them in, and then you put them in your mouth. Yeah, no, can't do it. Yes, in 90s, 40s cartoons, exactly. Oh, speaking of Mario, Maria Trio. I thought I said Mario for a minute. Miguel, glowering, Raquel pointed her glass to the newcomers. Meet Muertos' minions, Violetta, Azul, and Lima. The Maria Trio. Wait staff for all the bars, quadrants, and rec room operations. Yeehaw, indeed. A quadrant meant 4, Violetta corrected, holding up a defiant hand with the correct number of fingers. She waved her pinky, which was her 4th raised digit. But with only 3 of us, it's been busy. Can we go now? Or did you only call us to show off your math skills? Get told. Don't fight, Lima stuttered. We only need to get back to work. We're falling behind. Oh! She started spinning in place to look backwards towards the rec rooms. Oh, I'm being called. I need to go. I kind of enjoy the break. We can get to the recent arrival. Azul turned to him, rolling her neck. Hi, Mr. Miguel. How are you liking the bar? Imagine flexing your math skills. Streamers have done that. I believe Ollie has done full-on maths streams. Absolutely flexing her big, slightly rotting brain. Can it, Azul? Raquel barked. This isn't a break. You'll be getting back to work in a minute. Right now, I'm asking you something. Oh. Violetta Maria challenged, her voice rising and lowering in mocking octaves. Such anger, such fire! You know that's why they call you Raquel de Fuego. Unperturbed, Raquel tilted her head and snarled. Really? I thought it was because I was the only one who looked good in red, Violetta Maria. On you, it just shows off your sausage shape. Furious, Violet lunged forward. Lima and Azul grabbed their sister's arm, reacting with lightning quickness, while remaining distracted by their activities. To Miguel, it appeared to be a well-practiced reaction, and he wondered how often the 2 women had to stop their sister from attacking Raquel. Sausage shape. Yes. Fat but no curves. That would be a sausage shape. What? Did I hit a nerve? Raquel's voice smoldered with building anger. Gee, I'm sorry. Her tone crackled sarcastically. I'm imagining having your night ruined by someone, like maybe someone smashing your cake. That wasn't me. Violetta pouted, pulling her arms free from her counterparts. Her explosive anger had disappeared as quickly as it arose. So it's worse than donut shape. I imagine donut shape. Well, what kind of donut are we talking here? Are we talking donut with a hole or a filled donut? Because donut with a hole is definitely a worse shape because humans should not have holes in them. Or at least not one in the middle like that, like a giant one that you can see through. Obviously we have other holes, but that's a whole different thing. A filled donut probably is still kind of a bad shape, but slightly less so much than a filled donut. I mean, that's a bad shape too. Being a circle is not a good shape for a human being either. Sausage shape, I don't think it's that bad. It's just not very flattering. Blah. Anyway. She returned to her normal, agitated state. It was this guy here. He shrank back as the violet-dressed woman pointed a thumb at him. Miguel fell on the cake, sure, Raquel barked out in agreement, catching Violetta off guard. Apparently the duo did not agree on much. But who set the cake right on the table's edge when it's normally set in the center of the table? Violetta blinked 3 times in rapid succession. Well, I did, but... You, Raquel growled, pointing her glass at each Maria, one after another. And your sisters have been hanging around up here all night, checking out the new guy when you're supposed to be at your stations. You're all lucky that it was a cake that got messed up, and that Miguel handled the situation before we had some patrons go morose. I'm not flat. I got the bounce. I specifically requested the bounce. There was Boy. Flattering! You tricked me! But I do feel like I need to raise myself up for extra evidence! But it is flattering, thank you. You tricked me! God damn it. Revealing my non-say-so ways and assuming titties. Oh well. It was only a minor mistake, nothing that could cause any actual harm, Violetta snapped back. Raquel's voice went cold. It only takes a moment of doubt for the morose to take effect. You know that, right? None of them. She held her glass forward with the same intensity as she were holding a sword. None of us are immune. Raquel shrugged. None of you, anyway. Remember, I don't doubt. I know. And what I know is always factual. Violetta made to reply, but swallowed it down. Well, we didn't mean any harm, Azul whined, stretching tired limbs. The motion also helped her avoid Raquel's gaze. Lima was on the verge of tears. She continued to turn between Raquel and something happening far away that only she could hear. Her hand came up, and she bit her nails without noticing. Miguel wondered if she could have fingers left as her teeth chattered against her nails. Is Chef mad that we messed up the cake? Ask Chef after your shift. For now, we have something else to talk about. Raquel glowered at them. Right now, she said, stressing the words, I need you all to get your heads out of your asses and get into the game. Get back to doing your jobs. Violetta gave a sharp inhale. Lima whimpered and Azula moaned in protest. If Muertos saw you slacking, you know what happens. I should say something. Tried to explain. Raquel cast him a glare, and his lips tightened. How does she do that with just a look? We were only trying to help, Violetta Maria protested. There was a sheen in her eyes, the start of angry tears, only held back by force of her will alone. He was losing himself in the crowds by taking in too much. He'd burn out that full brain of his if he tried to see everything all at once, and he wasn't ready. She threw a thumb in Miguel's direction, although there was none of her earlier energy behind it. He was definitely not ready. I'm sorry I whistled. I'm sorry I whistled. I thought he was trying to do something sexy. Oh my god, that was Lima. Lima whimpered, tears falling from each eye. Please don't tell Muertos. I only wanted to make him smile. Oh, these three are actually kind of sweet. Oh no. Oh no. Azul reached over and patted her sister's shoulder, then leaned on her. Miguel wondered if she meant to be supportive of Lima or if Azul was looking for someone to rest her head. One time, I watched another streamer watch ever 17 visual novel. There was a character named You on another one of their series, and I said, whoa, she looks just like you, and everyone looked at me. But then I said, from ever 17. You, me, you, me. You, me. I don't know. I don't know how to react to that. What was it? It's okay, I bet he didn't even hear it. He did, though. He did. Azul stretched. Look, Raquel responded with what Miguel thought must have been her most civil tongue. I was looking forward to this stream, but I completely forgot you to be being extremely tired. That's okay, Lucas LP. You should be looking after yourself first. The VOD will always be here. Don't you worry about it. Don't you worry. Looking after yourself and having naps is important. Look, Raquel responded what Miguel thought must be her most civil tongue. At least civil by Raquel's standards. I know you're all excited. You love having people here. It's what you do. I also know you think you're helping, but... She paused, meeting each one of their eyes one by one. The point is, he is not a toy. He's a guest like everyone else. He's only got a little time before he's lost forever. Miguel shrank from her words. The reminder of his impending fate was not helping his confidence. Don't go hassling him or trying to get him to do your work. He's still a guest, even if he can interact with other tables. You all know the rules. You know what happens if you mess up. It's not only the guests who eat here. We clear? The trio hung their heads in defeat, with even Violetta no longer eager to continue fighting. In the same near unison as when they arrived, they gave Raquel understanding hums of agreement. Good. We can tell Muertos it was all a simple mistake later. She paused, letting the word sink in, then snapped her fingers, jarring the trio from their thoughts. Lost and found area. If nothing really exists after they leave, though, then there's nothing to be lost and nothing to be found because it stops existing. Except Miguel, he is lost and no one has found him. Well, what are you standing around for? Put your party faces on and get back to work. We have guests who need to celebrate. In a blink, the Maria trio vanished, a rush of wind pulling Miguel a few steps from the bar as they hurried back to their work. Brushing himself off and checking to make sure their sudden departure had not been enough to pull his clothes off him again, he stepped back to the bar, out of the way of the passing crowds. Falling into one group had been enough. He did not want to risk being pulled into another party again so soon. The bar had changed so much since he first arrived. No longer a rough hen board of untreated wood. It was now a beautiful white marble countertop, gleaming with shining gold trim. Overhead, polished wine glasses refracted the light in a rainbow of illumination. Don't you think you're a little hard on them? I mean, it was just some harmless whistling, a mess with a cake, nothing major, right? Raquel turned her glare upon him, and he found that it was as bad as he feared. I do what I have to, not because I enjoy it. They are staff. the same as anyone else. Focus on your work or you're gone. They were curious, Miguel countered, although he did not put much force into his argument. If they want to see you, they can wait until you go to the rec rooms, if you even end up there. If not, they miss out, and you move on. Probably. Her continuous reminders of his impending fate grated his nerves. What's the harm in them having a little fun? He murmured. Isn't that why we're all here? Something in Raquel's eyes broke. It was not anything physical, but Miguel could see a change in her iron gaze, and was certain the room's temperature dropped a few degrees. Are you saying I'm not fun? I will have you know, Miguel, I am plenty fun to be around. All of my friends would back me up if you had any. I didn't mean, he stammered, taking a reflexive step backwards. It's just, well... As she opened her mouth to speak, she stopped, her lips becoming a hard line as her eyes fell back to the counter. Did someone break wind if the room's temperature dropped a bit? Honestly, that would probably make the temperature go up. And a lot of people think a stinky got dropped. Without a word, she returned to her cleaning, but she lacked her usual powerful confidence. Her appearance was still flawless, but she appeared diminished. Her demeanour was smaller, more withdrawn, as if her fiery passion had died down to a flicker. Guilt hit Miguel square in the stomach. What did I do? Raquel's words from earlier in the night whispered into his mind. The morose is that lost, confused feeling. I've never felt it. I always know what I am doing, but it happens to all you dead people. It gets you in an emotional headlock and drags you down into oblivion. Did I make Raquel question herself? Did I give her the morose? He tapped the counter, testing her response like it was a frozen pond's surface. Her eyes darted towards the motion, then back to her work. They stood without speaking. Raquel, he offered. She grunted in quiet acknowledgement, but said nothing. I'm sorry. Still, she made no response. I shouldn't have made it sound like you're not fun. I'm sure you're lots of fun to be around. I've known you for a short time, is all. Her shoulders seemed to give a slight shrug, but it was hard to make out due to how little. I said the wrong thing again. He remembered the woman left his office in tears. It's fine, she offered in a whisper, sounding mechanical and detached from the moment. No, it's not fine, Miguel replied. I shouldn't have been so dismissive to a friend. I do my job. Let the Marias take care of entertaining. You should see them. They are much more entertaining. Maybe later, Miguel said, sitting at the counter. Resting his hand on his face, he watched her clean in silence. For a few minutes they remained quiet, Raquel twirling the glass in her hand over and over until it looked clean, then repeating the motion as new spots appeared on its surface. Miguel gave a slight cough as she peered to him. If I may ask, what's so special about that glass? Confused, Raquel lifted her head and cocked an eyebrow in question. She regarded him, perhaps expecting a joke at her expense or something sinister. What? This one? She held the glass forward. Miguel nodded. Yeah, you've been cleaning it all night. I imagine it must be special. She regarded the tall glass, admiring how the light glistened on the pristine surface, how it cast tiny rainbows of light all around her. She tossed it behind her into a bin. The sound of breaking glass echoed inside. Nothing. It's glass, just like any one of 1,000 we have there. Why do you... She paused, realization dawning on her face, bringing back some of her usual sneer. Wait, do you think I've been cleaning one glass all night? She trembled, a small shake on her lean frame. The shaking grew until it came out with a word. Humans. I forgot how little you see. Haven't you? I haven't been cleaning a glass all night. I've been cleaning all the glasses. At least. I'm cleaning when I'm not serving drinks. As she returned her usual abrasive self, Miguel asked questions. But I haven't seen you leave the bar. And the only times I've seen you pouring anything were for Juan Pedro and the soldiers. That's because I move fast. She beamed with self-satisfaction. And the old Raquel grit peeked through her grim expression. With a minor change to her uniform, she straightened to her full height. Top of my battalion in speed and combat navigation. Battalion? Were you a soldier? The best kind, she replied with a genuine smile on her lips, one not hidden under a scowl or smirk. I helped save many people. For a moment, she stared up at the ceiling, a wistful gleam in her eyes. Miguel followed her gaze, but could see nothing unusual. Is there something up there? Raquel chuckled, and the smile lines breaking on her dour face. There is. It's home. After a few more seconds, she shook her head, coming back to the moment. Don't you hear it? Oh, I forget how basic human hearing can be. You keep calling me human, so what does that make you? You said you aren't a spirit. What else is there? I am. Well, I was an angel, she said, letting her gaze drift around the bar to avoid looking at him. He laughed. You're an angel. Why would an angel be working in the bar? Isn't anyone working service an angel? Not wrong. Shout out to our service angels out there. She chuckled. Besides, Muertos already told you. I need to work on my soft skills, whatever those are. Order of Raphael, dedicated to healing and shelter. We are experts in comfort. That's why I'm so good at it. Raquel held up a glass. So you serve drinks in heaven? No need up there, she said, stretching her neck. Heaven has the pure sauce all over. You just reach out with your cup and you get whatever drink you want. The job is simple up there. She looked at the ceiling. Anyone could do it. A mean smirk followed her comment. She returned her gaze to the counter, looking displeased. There was nothing to chop or clean, and that seemed to disagree with her mood. The house here connects into that on some level. Only nerds understand. That's a way to avoid explaining things in your books. Like, the nerds would know, but I don't care. She patted the series of taps before her. So does that mean I can get any type of milk I want? Yeah, you can get all the chalky milk you deserve, which is all of it, just for the record. All the chalky milk, all the banana milk, all the strawberry milk. These let me access it and distill it for patrons. I guard it all night, only leaving to deliver drinks. I thought the Marias delivered drinks. With a gruff snort, she shook her head. There is no way I let them touch my drinks, much less ever let them behind the bar. Valletta has been trying for a long time to get a sample of the pure stuff. They handle special orders for the kitchen and party appearances as needed. I tried to keep them in the back rooms so they can focus. Not that anyone appreciates what I do. I'm sure they would, but Since they are in the rec rooms, they don't get the opportunity to see what you do. Like me, I haven't seen you leave the counter since the night started. Well, I was remembering the SCP coffee machine, which you can get milk from any source. That's terrifying. I don't think I know the details of the SCP coffee machine. I don't think I need to know the details of the SCP coffee machine. Sounds like something that might scar. With a wry smile, she leaned against the bar. All right, I'll show you. Maybe they'll listen to you when you tell them. She pointed at the table. See that guy drinking the mojito? Table 06-18? Miguel turned and squinted. There was no visible markers he had to identify what marked one table different to any other, but he found the man she had indicated far in the distance. He was a skinny man in a tweed suit, and just sipped the last of his drink, and was lowering it to the table. Yeah, but... Raquel's hand fell hard on his shoulder, almost shoving him to the floor. He jumped as she appeared beside him. Miguel tried to move away, but he was too slow, every motion responding like he was moving through thick mud. Time appeared to have stopped, yet he could feel the momentum of his foot trying to move backwards. His joints ached to move, but the absence of time held him in place. You're in my time now, my speed. Watch and learn. Well, watch me fly. Raquel's hand came off his shoulder, and she rocketed away from him. She was not running, but gliding through the cloud like a professional dancer, each movement graceful and with deliberate purpose, each footfall clicked, counting out forgotten seconds. The more she moved, the more the intense red aura pulsed around her, her feet shimmering and buzzing with power. Raquel de Fuego, Miguel recalled Violetta's nickname for the bartender. Raquel of the fire. Violetta wasn't just making a jab at Raquel's temper, but referring to how she burns time itself. In 5 clicks, Raquel had reached her target, and with a swirl of her wrist, she plucked the empty vessel from the table. Another 5 clicks, and she was back at the bar. Miguel did not know what she was doing behind him, but he heard 2 more distinct clicks before she was returning to the table with fresh drinks. She was not taking any normal steps. Even in that stopped time, she appeared to glide between footfalls. She's not from the Fire Nation, she's from the Heavenly Nation! I'm thinking I was going to move my camera down slightly because the slouch has started. Yeah, the slouch. On her return path, she put her hand back on Miguel's shoulder and pressed down. Her crimson aura flowed over him. The heat of time being forced to remain still blazed all around him. As she released his shoulder, the crimson aura withdrew, and a cool sensation spread over his body. As he completed his backstep motion continued around the bar like nothing had happened. The only things that had changed were Raquel now stood beside him instead of behind the bar, and the customer's drink was refilled. Miguel shuddered at how much had happened between instants. Amazing, he whispered. Terrifying, but amazing. His mind was still trying to play out what he had witnessed, but even memory could not play back the speed and motion in proper time. Thoughts were too slow. Usually I don't take that long, she remarked with a slight grin, but I don't show people my wings often. He wheezed out of breath, exhausted despite not having moved. When he could breathe without pain, Miguel turned back to the bar. Wouldn't it be faster not to mix a drink? I mean, it's all the same thing, right? Just that happy juice. Raquel snorted. Happy juice, huh? That's a new one. With a shake of her head, she picked up a fresh glass, giving it a playful toss before starting to clean. For a full minute, she cleaned and inspected the glass, turning it this way and that. At her satisfaction, Raquel looked at him through the crystal clear surface. It's all about the effort. That is part of the mission. The more you put into it, the more people get out of it. The happy juice is just a liquid. The base for the proper drink. It is the effort we add into it that makes it what the customer needs. Drinking it directly would blow your mind. Literally. Literally. Miguel gave a weak laugh, but stopped when Raquel did not do the same. At some point, I hope someone here starts making sense. I'm a no-drink mixer. I'm no drink mixer. Mixologist, she corrected. Things make more sense as you experience them. A little nudge sometimes helps. Setting down a series of glasses she had cleaned while they were talking, Raquel nodded at him. You're not so bad, Miguel. For a human, you mean? Raquel tilted her head, squinting in concentration. No, just overall not so bad. You're the type of person I wouldn't want to hit. Now that's a compliment. But you already hit me, he remarked, his arm reaching for the soreness from earlier. Although it makes sense why she hated hearing me say, what the hell, earlier. Yeah, that kind of makes sense now. Yeah, she replied, a fond nod at the memory. But you deserved it. No, you're probably the first person in a long time I don't want to punch without cause. It's a wonderful compliment from this person, who wants to punch everyone by the sounds of it. You punch many people? People you shouldn't be hitting? Raquel shrugged. A new assortment of glassware required cleaning, and appeared on the counter in front of her. Yeah, I mean, I guess. That's why I'm here. Punching a holy man and all. You punched a holy man? Why? He hugged me and I don't do touching. I didn't like it. He was so happy to be in heaven and he didn't stop, and I made him comply in a way I thought was most efficient. Raphael wasn't happy. So here I am. I love you. I love you, Raquel. You're the best. During their conversation, she had cleaned the stack of glasses and searched for something else to occupy her time. Anyway, it's time for you to go. Go? But I thought we were having a good time. Why would... The genuine smile returned to her face, and she gave a slight nod of approval. We all have our jobs tonight. If you stick around, I might end up having to hit you again. Miguel laughed again, noticing that Raquel did not join in, and started backing away. Well, I'm glad we could get to the no-hitting point. I think I'll go check out those back rooms, and I'll find someone else you don't want to hit. And I hope you find someone else you don't want to hit. Miracles happen, she replied, nodding as he left. After one step, he stopped. You know, Raquel, I think you should talk to the Marias. They are your co-workers, part of your team or squad. Communications are always a big part of my team back home. It might help you make them more efficient, more like you. I like your Steam so much, I would even play Minecraft with you. Well, like I said, if you can get it sorted, we can see about dragging you into my Minecraft. I'm always happy for people to join me on there. Backrooms. Is he level 1 here? Bobby. The angel gave him a nod, considering his words, but not treating them with any significance. Yeah. She offered back. Like I need advice from a dead guy. Okay, I should go. I've got a lot to do and need all the time I can get, Miguel said with a wave, as an open palm slammed into his back and sent him skidding into the crowds. Raquel's voice chimed into his ear, as clear as if she had been standing beside him. A chill ran down his spine as he realized she literally could stand at his side and he would have never known. A nudge from an angel to send you on your way. And that gives us to chapter 7, where I'm going to be stopping, because that is quite evenly the 2-hour point, which is about where I like to stop, because reading for 2 hours is hard. We're going on the dance floor. I wonder if he will actually dance. Sounds like he's a bit of a dad dancer, which I don't know if he has a child. It seemed to imply he had a child, but he wasn't sure yet. He didn't have the memory. So we'll see if he is a dad dancer or not. Yeah, good night, Briny. Even if I distract you. It's okay if you distract me a bit. I wouldn't stream this. Like, I expect to be distracted. It's how streaming works. It's fine. People still seem to enjoy these streams even when I chat to people, so until someone tells me otherwise, speak or forever hold your peace on the feedback. I'm happy to chat too and read at the same time. It's all good. But anyway, thank you Void Dweller and Luke and Lucas LP. And there was a Pecco. There was a Rhythm Pecco in the chat. For being in the chat. Thank you to anyone who lurked. Thank you to anyone who watches the VOD. If you are interested in any more of me and my content, you should join my Patreon. There is a whole extra stream that only Patreons can get access to that's now up. There's also more short stories and things like that. And you should also give me money on my coffee. That would be really nice. And I have books, and you should buy my books, and they're really good. There's also links for that in the description. And if you would like to catch me again, I will be back tomorrow, and I'll be playing some Minecraft. If you would like to collab with my Minecraft, you should get into my Discord, which also has a link in the description. There's so many links down there. They're all wonderful. You should click them all. Click them all. There's also a link to this book in the description if it's actually interested you. You should do that. The author is wonderful. And you should buy his book too. And I think that's all the shilling I need to do for the day. I will be back on Monday with Minecraft. And next week's stream schedule should pretty much be the same as usual. I haven't got any particular plans to change it. So yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. I'll have the schedule up probably tomorrow morning, so like in the next just under 12 hours, I will probably have the schedule up. And I will schedule stuff tomorrow. I can't be bothered right now, I'm too tired. That's tomorrow me's problem. Goodbye, everyone. This has been Ronnie Smith live from the Forbidden Library. I had fun. I hope you had fun. Goodbye.